Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Emily and today I have my January wrap up for you. I am currently reading 2 books, but I hope to finish them by the end of the month, which is tomorrow, which is when you are seeing this video. I'm filming it on the 30th and this should be uploaded on the 31st. So hopefully I'm able to finish these 2 books. I have counted these 2 books in this month. So as of this video, I am planning on finishing both these 2 books by tomorrow night. Whoops. We're just going to run through it. I have my computer here. I made a list because I cannot remember everything, unfortunately. So I'm gonna go over the books and then I'll tell you my stats for January at the end. So the first book I read was The Ranger's Apprentice by John Flanagan. This book was 258 pages. I read it both ebook and audiobook, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. This had a mentor-mentee relationship between the boy main character and the apprentice guy, whatever. I really enjoyed the growths and the journeys this book had, but I felt like the story was very juvenile, which is obvious because this is a middle grade verging on YA book, so I am obviously not the target demographic, but I still really enjoyed this. I'm glad that I gave it a chance and finally got to see what it was all about. And I will say though that I am not going to continue on with this, unfortunately, but I still had a good time and glad I finally got to it. This was also my first book of the year, so happy to have started off with something pretty decent. Moving on to the second book I read was Deviant Hearts by Jagger Cole. This was 452 pages. I read it via ebook and I gave it 4.5 stars. But now that I think on it, it's probably more of a 4-star. But we're following our female main character and we also get the point of view of the male main character. And they are on enemy sides of like mafias and they are both arranged to be married. And she absolutely does not want this to happen. He doesn't either, but he's more like cool about it. But she just does not want anything to do with this. And they are kind of enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience, but they slowly fall in love. And then there's like this whole other story. And I really enjoyed it. The spice in it was pretty good. I think that's all I got to say about it, but yeah, so I read that one, gave it 4.5 stars, but it's probably more like a 4 now that I think about it, and I will be continuing on. The next book is following her uncle, and they can be read as standalones, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I really enjoyed it, and it was nice that this was by a male author writing romance, and so I enjoyed getting to see that, because I don't know that I read, if any, romance books by male authors, so that was pretty nice to see. The third book I read, I think this was the first book I read for Winterween, so the next 6 books I read are all in my Winterween reading vlog, so if you want to hear more about these next 6 books, please go watch that. I will try to remember to leave it linked down below. But book number 3 was A Dead and Stormy Night by Stephanie Holmes. This was 302 pages, and I read it ebook / audiobook, and I did give it 4 stars. Really enjoyed this. This is a cozy fantasy mystery book, romance, with some romance that was like kind of building up towards the very end. And this is a series, and I have the next couple books, and I do have the audiobooks from Audible Plus, so I plan on listening / reading those, maybe one every month going forward that I have, and see what it contains and to follow these characters. Book number 4 was There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. I read 58 pages of this book. I read an ebook. I DNF'd at 17%. I love dark romance, but this was not it. I am starting to find that I really don't like sociopath or psychopath male love interest, like, at all. This book I read to this point one other time and I just couldn't get past it, and I decided to give it another chance because I wanted to read this for the Buzzword reading challenge, which was there, or there, and this one had there in it. I just don't have any inclination of wanting to continue with this. Not my kind of story. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I look at future books that are dark romance and potentially have that kind of trope in it. So definitely not a fan. Book number 5 I read was Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. I wanted to read this one for Spicy Cats Reads book club. She does a book club on Discord, and this was the book for January. This was 389 pages. I read this on ebook and I gave it 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was just a little too long because there were a couple things that just kept like happening over and over, and I feel like it could have been shortened a little bit, but it was still really like, I need to know what's gonna happen. I need to know, and it was like some gory parts and creepy and like it was, and then the perfect atmosphere of in the winter and how you would expect it to be like freezing cold, and it was perfect. But I gave this book 4 stars and I really enjoyed it, and I will keep continuing on my Darcy Coates train of reading a lot of her backlist books. Book number 6 is An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good by Helen Thurston. This was 185 pages. I read this ebook and audiobook and I gave it 4 stars. I think on Goodreads I put that this one kind of reminds me of my grandma in another life, because this feels like something that she could potentially be capable of in a different life. I don't think she would do it now, but like she just has some of those tendencies, you know, and Granny definitely gets away with a lot in this book, and it's in such an intriguing way, and I absolutely love this. I wasn't sure how I would feel, but I loved this. It was so funny, sort of, but not funny. Like, just the things that this granny gets up to. Interesting. I want to get to the second book, so I'm going to be picking that one up hopefully next month. We will see. So for book number 7, I read Witch Hat Atelier, volume 1 by Kamome Shirahama. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. This is 211 pages. It's an ebook manga. And this was my first 5-star of the year. This was so sweet and wholesome. I wasn't even sure what to expect going into this, but we have a young girl who wants to be a witch really bad, and she kind of does just that, in not the most conventional way though. And this is kind of like the start of her antics and like the things that she has to get up to save someone. And that's all I'm going to say. You can watch my Winterween reading vlog down below if you want to know more. Book number 8, This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau. 116 pages, ebook, audiobook. I gave it 4 stars. This is one of those books that I have from the top 20 books, top 20 favorite books based on booktubers favorites of 2023. That's a mouthful. Anyway, this was very interesting. I definitely don't think you should read the back, because the stories that this is kind of similar to will give away kind of like the ending, sort of, or like what's happening. I did, and I kind of figured it out early on, but it was pretty good. It was very like that anticipatory, creepy, like you know something's gonna go wrong kind of feeling, and it was just so good. And it was like in the winter, and it was just perfect. And well, not 100% perfect, because I could kind of see what was gonna happen obviously, but I gave it 4 stars. Really enjoyed it and glad I finally got to it. Book number 9 is First We Were Four by Alexandra Saraway. I'm trying not to get the glare. That's about as good as we're gonna get it. Anyway, this, I got 12 pages into it. I've read the physical pages of this, and I DNF'd at 2%. This is one of these books that have just been holding on. It's a mystery thriller, and I know Books and Lala enjoyed this a while ago, a couple years ago, and I picked it up because of her, but I have just lost interest in it. Those 12 pages, I just could tell I did not have any inclination of wanting to read this anymore, so I did DNF it. I'm counting those 12 pages towards my goal of pages read or whatever, because I did read those 12 pages, okay? And even though it's only 2% in, I'm still counting it. So my reading goals, be mad if you want to. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this. Kind of sad, kind of not. I'm happy to be getting a book off my TBR that I've been hoarding for a while, and just happy that it's going to be one that's going, so we'll move on. Book number 10 is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is a reread for me. This is 404 pages. I read it physical and audio, and I gave it 5 stars. Again, obviously, I give this woman 5 stars for everything she writes, because her writing is just so good. The relationships are so good. The world building so good. Just everything about Her books are so good. I read this for the first time in 2018. It's been about 5 years now. I need to reread this series, so that's what I'm doing. I'm hoping to read at least the next 2 books in February, but I am super excited to have finally reread this, and I'm just so happy to be back in this world. Book number 11 was Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This was 628 pages. I read an ebook and audiobook, and this was my second 5-star of the year. That was a new read. I am not counting my favorites as my rereads, or my rereads as favorites, because I know they're going to be favorites. So anyway, Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is a contemporary romance with some dark elements. This deals with child abuse and neglect and just all kinds of different things, and I just love this. At first I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about this. Like the first 100 pages, it took me a little bit to really get into, but once I was in. I needed to know what was going to happen to these characters. Johnny, I love him. He's so understanding. And poor Shannon, her whole family, like her and her brothers, just go through so much. And I can't wait to see what happens with all the characters in the rest of this book and the next few books of the series. I absolutely loved the side characters. They were so good too. Like everything about this book was so good and heartbreaking. And I just, oh God, I loved it. I need to own this physically. And my goal this year is to start acquiring my favorite books of the year as I go along. So this series is definitely one I'm going to be picking up for my shelves. So moving on to book 12, I have Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the 3rd and final book in the Caraval trilogy. I had the audiobook out from the library, so that was why I read it like between everything. But this is 471 pages. I read it physical and audio, and I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was a good ending to a trilogy. I'm interested to see her spin-off series from this. I'm interested to see some characters in that, and I am just so happy I finally got to the series. I feel like if I would have read it back when it first came out, I probably would have gave them higher ratings, but I really enjoyed the series. I really enjoyed the characters. And yeah, that's all I can say. It was definitely a fun, whimsical ride of a story. Book number 13 is Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. 667 pages, ebook, audiobook, 5 stars, obviously. I'm not going to say any more than that. Loved it. Heartbreaking. Oh God, I love it so much, and I can't wait to get to the next couple, whatever, and the next duology set of this series. But I'm really excited for the 3rd duology in this, which is following Gibbsy, and I just love him. He made me laugh out loud so much. Not to mention, these books just took you on a roller coaster of emotions. Like, if you want a nice emotional romance roller coaster, these are them. So good. And I highly recommend the audiobooks because the narrators have the Irish accents, and I thought it was very easy to understand, and it just immersed you in it, and I just loved it. Book number 14 and 15 are the ones I'm currently reading, but I'm 100% sure that I'm going to be finishing book number 14, which is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. 642 pages, ebook, audiobook, and I think when I first read this, I may or may not have given it 4 or 5 stars, but I'm going to be giving it 4 stars this round. I just feel like it drags in certain parts. It's definitely got like the historical element, and it does a lot of world building, sort of. Like, we learn a lot about like the history and stuff, and that doesn't always like keep me wanting to know more, I guess. Like, it doesn't always feel like something I want to read about. But anyway, this is a reread for me. This is my second reread, and I'm reading this one for Jen from the Book Refuge's Outlander read-along, so I'm super excited to finally be rereading this. And I started watching season 1 last night so that I could kind of go along as I'm reading the books, and I've only ever read the first one, and I've only ever really watched the first season and a little bit of the second season, so I really don't know what happens from like there on, so I want to know. So I'm super excited to be reading that, but I only have like 8 chapters left, so I'm definitely going to finish that tonight on the 30th. And then book number 15 is Ensnared by Rebecca Quinn. This is 448 pages, and I'm reading it on ebook, and I think I'm most likely going to be giving this a 3-star. It started off fast. It's like post-apocalyptic, or it's like a dystopian thing, and a romance, a reverse harem. I love reverse harems, and I wish this one was just a little bit different. I don't know. I don't like the main female character that much. She's a little too headstrong, and I don't want to make it sound like that. She's just very contradictive in like her thoughts and her actions and stuff, and she just gets so annoying, and I think that just has me like not wanting anything to do with her. And like the main male characters or whatever, I don't like their dynamic completely because it just doesn't feel right yet. So I did end up jumping the gun and getting the second book, so I think it'll be a little bit before I try that one, but I am planning on finishing this one. I think I have like 12 chapters left. It's pretty quick, and it is very spicy in certain scenes, which the spice is pretty good, gotta admit. But I don't know, there's just a few things that I don't really care for about it, so that's unfortunate. But that would be all that I feel like I would be finished reading in January. I'm going to go into the stats now. So the total books would be 15 books. Total page count will be 5,243 pages. My average rating would be 3.7. I feel like those DNFs really brought it down. The format I read, like the format's going to be like specific to like that format. So ebook, I only read 5 books specifically, only ebook. Audio, I did not read any books specifically, just audio alone. I read the one physical, which was this one specifically, no audiobook or anything, like just the 12 pages of this one for physical. And then split, so it could be audio and ebook, audio and physical, whatever, 9 books in that category. I reread 2 books. I borrowed 5 audios, so that could count in the split, so audio and whatever, so either YouTube or my library. The age ranges, I had 2 middle grade, which was my first book of the year, and the manga, 3 YAs and 10 adults. I definitely find myself reading more adults, but I would like to also read a lot of my backlist YA fantasy so I can get those moving again. And my least favorite, I don't know if I should count this or not, but There Are No Saints. I am pretty positive that I do not like this book. I hate this book from what I read. Like, I just hated it. But if you didn't want me to count one of my DNFs, I would say my least favorite then would be Ensnared by Rebecca Quinn. My favorites, I have 3 favorites. So I have Witch Hat Atelier Volume 1, and I have Binding 13 and Keeping 13. Those were my 3 favorites for the month of January, and I'm really happy with those. So that was everything for my wrap-up. I haven't done a wrap-up in a while, but I'm really enjoying how I'm doing this one. So I guess you'll have to like this down below if you liked it. I will try to remember to leave my Winterween reading vlog down below so that you can watch it if you want to hear some of my thoughts on some of the other books. And comment letting me know if you like how this video went and if you want me to continue doing monthly wrap-ups, and subscribe if you want to. I'd greatly appreciate it. And until my next video, I will see you guys again soon. Bye.